Well, right now, we want to give you a sneak peek of the latest edition of Bloomberg The Mentor. Tonight, 1-800-Flowers founder and CEO Jim McCann talks shop with the owner of a budding bi-coastal tea business called T Salon.
I know I stepped on your dream a little bit here with the store. I think at this point in Miriam's development, she has to realize that the retail presence she has is a living, breathing billboard. But if you had 50 billboards, you wouldn't have time to build the brand. So I think it's a question of sequencing. And I think stores, as much as I'm a retailer, and we both started with retail.
I know, we love our retail.
But in terms of sequencing, stores aren't stores. Your stores, your showroom, is really just a stage where your brand comes alive.
Jim McCann joins us now live. Welcome to InBusiness.
Great to be here, Margaret.
I watched The Mentor last night. I was impressed.
So you got to see it before I did, huh?
I got a sneak peek because I wanted to know, just what you worked on in particular with Miriam. And it was interesting, that clip we showed, it's a key point in her story because you were advising her not only on a location that perhaps you didn't agree with, but the approach to a retail space. And you just said there sequencing was a big part of expanding a brand. You also said, make every noise you make louder because the lines between the customer and staff are blurring. You're talking about presenting a business in a very key way. I mean, what is it that you've learned along the way?
Well, the fact that I'm very old has given me the opportunity to be around a long time. And look at, from the time at 1-800-Flowers, for example, we had a retail shop and then a chain of retail shops. And then the technology changed the world. And that is, way back when, they had this new technology called 800 numbers. Well, that changed our world. And then later on, this online world began to emerge. I don't know if you've read about it, this thing called the internet. But it changed our world dramatically. And because we've adapted, I'm still a retailer and I think about retail, but you have to think multi-channel on anything you do now, as is evidenced by Bloomberg. It's a perfect example of a multi-channel platform. And I think every retailer has to think the same way. So you only have so much energy and so much bandwidth, so you have to focus it on the things that will matter the most for the long term. And although you might love a retail store, if that's not the best way for you to build your brand so that you can build many of them, then you really need to assess your sequence.
Well, you were talking very specifically about the brand, about the presentation, about the experience of the business. Day in, day out, particularly in this program, we talk about the financials of being a small business right now and how hard the macro environment is in terms of healthcare costs and taxes and the like. Why did you think it was so important to focus in on those branding bits?
I think for that very reason, Margaret, all the things you pointed out in terms of how difficult it is, try and make it as easy as you can by realizing the world has changed and your opportunities for advancement are going to be very different today than they were some time ago. So the internet clearly is impacting every aspect of our lives. And if you want to be a retailer and build a brand, not only are there challenges, but the new tools give you new opportunities. So there's an opportunity to be less expensive in building your brand. And what Miriam is focusing on and needs to focus on is developing a community of people who are interested in her and her brand and help it come alive. So it's a lot less expensive if you're fortunate and focused to build a brand than it would be in the traditional media world.
Now talk to me about what you're doing with your business in this world these days. With the quarter past, sales were under pressure here. What kind of discretionary spending are you seeing right now?
Well, I think the good news is that a year ago, certainly 2 years ago, people were concerned that the world might come to an end financially. And I think that that's passed. And so now we have a lot of people are calling in, and a lot of people that you talk to are calling it the new normal. And that's good in the sense that at least you see a landscape, you think you can see 3 months, 6 months, 9 months ahead, and you can start to plan and start to work on growth. Now, growth is more challenging, but there's still opportunities for growth. And the companies that get real good in this environment, well, if the economic wind comes back into our sails a bit, we'll be really well positioned to accelerate our growth. But if you can get good in this environment, you're going to be very good.
And you're diversifying your offerings. You've got different basket business and gourmet businesses. It's not just the traditional flower.
Well, what we're trying to be is the traditional flower and gift shop. And in that, so we're concerned about the mix of products. We know our customers, and if their tastes are turning toward things that are edible and consumable in that gift shop, then we need to focus with the right partners and the right brands and the right products to serve those interests.
And that's what you're seeing right now.
And that's what we're seeing. So our food businesses are growing quite nicely because they have the right price points and it's edible. And what's more personal than a gift that you would give to someone that they would consume? So we're trying to, as a merchant, as a florist, I have to merchandise my flower and gift shop with the products that are appropriate for the season, for our customers, for the circumstances around us. And so we're always working on the mix, but we'll always be a flower and gift shop.
Well, it was a great show, and it's going to air for everyone tonight. You can tune in to Bloomberg and watch the advice that you were sharing from your experience.
I'll hear some grief from my kids tomorrow.
No, you were great, and such a colorful, such a colorful character herself.
Oh yeah, she is an interesting person.
She makes for good TV.
She makes for good conversation when you can get a word in.
Well, we can
she's a
catch
lovely,
that
lovely
today.
person. I hope she's a great success.
Well, you gave her some good advice in those partnerships with Vivian Tam and the like. We'll see how they play out.
I learned as much as I hope I gave out.
All right, thank you, Jim. You can watch that tonight, The Mentor, right here on Bloomberg.